Vivek Ramaswamy has been fading into the obscurity we all predicted he would, around the same time he predicted he would win the Iowa caucus, before going on to get less than 3% of the vote. But I have to admit, he got me with this one. As I was scrolling X and I saw a clip of him that lit a fire in my soul of anger I haven't felt in a long time, and I knew I would have to articulate in a video because, oh my God, is this such a stupid take. So let's watch, and then I'm going to go off.
And on the trans piece, just want to think about this for a second, Greg. Let's say you started claiming to be black, painted your face black, started wearing dreadlocks, claimed to be a diverse late-night addition to late-night television, right? A lot of black people would find that offensive. Whoopi Goldberg would be on The View tomorrow morning calling you a racist.
Yeah.
It wouldn't go that far.
For once, she would have a point, you know? And the reason is it's offensive.
Yeah, okay, tell that to Robert Downey Jr., who did it very hilariously and then went on to do blockbuster numbers with Marvel. But in all seriousness, this is an idiotic take. Full stop. If he was trying to make some pseudo argument against social constructs and how they typically are just used to classify people, stereotype and stigmatize them, like with race and gender alike, I would say based. But no, instead he's drawing quite literally the dumbest comparison you can draw. First, let me go on my little gender abolitionist rant and then I'll tie it all together. And let's start by discussing what he's hinting at with race here, which first off, Greg Gutfeld would be rightfully lambasted for doing blackface because the history and origin of blackface is directly linked to racism. It was literally created to be derogatory and make a mockery of people of color during Jim Crow. So it's a bit different. But what I'm getting at here is that even this racism that blackface was created to represent only exists because race exists. We as humans, as a society, decided to group people in these categories based off their skin color and how they look. And it's been used to justify heinous acts and disgusting prejudice and bias all throughout history. One race could not own the other race if there was no race. One race could not be redlined to poor neighborhoods, education, and schools if there were not race. This is the dichotomy that had to be created for that kind of superiority complex where the more you learn about America, the more you learn that our founding fathers really wanted that to be embedded in us. And the way it manifests itself with gender is separate but similar in a lot of ways. The biggest difference, and another detriment to the argument, the dumb comparison that Vivek is trying to make, is that race is about how you look. Gender is about how you feel. People aren't a race because of how they feel or how they want to be treated. They're a race because they look that way. I can assure you that black people aren't black because they want to get the hell beat out of them by police. And I know that Vivek doesn't think that gender is about how you look because he would say that this is a woman. But to understand Buck Angel, to understand why people feel the need to transition, you have to understand what gender really is. And a very short-winded explanation of something that is very long-winded, gender is the expectations, the judgment, the roles and perceptions you feel comfortable to opening yourself up to in the world. Think of it as the purse dilemma, right? A man with a purse will always get looked at weird, or there will be some assumption or judgment made about him, even if it's made subconsciously. That's something he could expect. Maybe you think he's weird, maybe you think he's gay, whatever it may be, right? But if a woman carried a purse, you're not going to bat an eye. You're not going to have a second thought about it. Now expand this a bit. Men are expected to behave a certain way, work hard, not to be too sensitive. They're put in certain places when certain actions have, like men's prison. This is something that is seen as normal for them, but for women, some of those behaviors like being sensitive, not wanting to work hard, those are seen as more normal behaviors, ones that are in stereotype. Don't attack me. I don't think that you can label roles with these sort of set expectations and roles. It's what you're open to, you're willing to open yourself up to. And as a society, we made that exact same mistake of incorrectly stereotyping these behaviors with sex because that's not what it's attached to at all. And a lot of what we knew with gender early on, we realized was wrong as it was more commonly associated with sex. But as we've grown to understand it, we've learned about how truly fluid it is. And the more we learn about that, the more we need to break from this previous worldview, which is why I think gender should be abolished. I'm just saying all types of social constructs, really, money, religion, politics. But so my social construct rant is a rant for a different video. Tying it back into Vivek and what he was saying, the problem and the reason why these two things, blackface and transitioning, could never be comparable is to do blackface wouldn't be a response to anything. It would be an attempt to become. Transitioning is the response to already feeling as if you relate more with the expectations of the other gender or just outside of the traditional gender norms. And it's a response in that you will never fully step into these sets of expectations and judgments that you are comfortable with without passing, which is an unfortunate reality and is why people transition. And that is the fault of society, not the individual for setting these stereotypes. Wrongly so, might I add, because we associate sensitivity with females, stoicism with males, certain jobs and roles with males, and certain dress and activities with females. We are the ones as a society who created these categories and stereotypes that we're now also using to judge people so hard for trying to fulfill just so they can then feel comfortable with who they are. Nobody is stopping white people from taking the negative stereotypes associated with people of color or the police and justice. We urge you to, I promise you. Maybe you would learn something if you did that. However, people are actively stopping trans women and men from being themselves. Imagine you've always felt some way. You've always identified with a core set of ideals, only to find out that nobody else who looks like you, who is around you, feels this way. Everyone around you also tells you you shouldn't feel and think this way. Maybe you start to feel like you were made wrong. Maybe you feel like you have an issue, like you don't belong. You turn on the TV. There's no one in any of the shows you watch who looks or thinks like you, no characters you can identify with. You read your stories, but again, it's full of characters who are like everyone else and no one's like you. You can start to see how this could create this sense of a problem with your self-identification, the loneliness that can lead to depression, anxiety, the need to escape without the inability to do so that too often leads to suicide. And then maybe you can understand why some people are finding ways to escape that without having to lose their lives. And it's through validation and acceptance and being able to look and feel the way the world associates with the feelings you have in your body. It's not about look. It's about feeling. That is where the focus should be. It's about the way you want to be treated. And unfortunately, in our society, in our superficial world that we created, that is too often associated with the way you look in multiple facets. You can't change who you are. And the biggest misconception about the trans community is that's what they're trying to do, when in reality, they're just finally becoming themselves. If you enjoyed this video, we're Social Society. We're a commentary channel influenced by politics, society, and the economy. We are pretty left-leaning on this channel, but we're open to our right-wingers as well. The biggest thing here is having conversations that get everyone to the bottom of the truth. If that sounds like something that could interest you, consider smashing that subscribe button, leaving us a like, or even commenting on this video. We even have memberships available as low as $3 if you'd like to support, because the only way we become a society is together.